Good morning, my dear students. Today we are going to know about the white matter of cerebral hemispheres. White matter of cerebral hemispheres. In last class, we very well know about the cerebral hemisphere. So that is cerebral hemisphere. That means gray matter of the cerebral hemisphere. So external features of the cerebral hemispheres, functional areas of the cerebral hemispheres, motor area, sensory area, speech area, auditory area, visual area, like the functional areas. So functional areas of the cerebral hemisphere, and motor aphasia and speech aphasia, and clinical significance. Now, this is the white matter of the cerebral hemisphere. So, white matter of cerebral hemisphere. So, I want to tell you, the nervous system is made up of gray matter and white matter. In the spinal cord, gray matter is H-shaped, horn-shaped in the center part, and white matter is surrounding the gray matter in the lamina or a funiculus. So, that is the central nervous system, spinal cord. Whereas in brain, outer part is gray matter, inner part is white matter. Outer part is gray matter, inner part is white matter. Gray matter is composed of neurons. Neuron is the structural neuron, functional unit of the nervous system. White matter is nothing but fibers coming from the neurons or dendrites. So, the white matter of the cerebral hemisphere is a compact mass of vast number of nerve fibers and associated neuroglia. So, in this definition, there is no neurons. Neurons are in the gray matter. So, the white matter is nothing but a compact mass of vast number of nerve fibers and associated neuroglia. That is the first definition. Wherever there is white matter of the central nervous system, so white matter is nothing but a compact mass of vast number of nerve fibers and associated neuroglia. This is the definition. So, by knowing this chapter, you must be able to understand what is white matter. You must be able to define white matter and types of fibers present in it. So, what are the fibers present in it? What is corpus callosum? What is its shape? What is its functional significance? What is internal capsule? So, it is also nothing but a group of compact bundle of white fibers. What is corona radiata? They are radiating fibers of the white matter of the cerebral hemisphere. So, at the end of this session, you must be able to define what is white matter, what type of fibers are there, what is its functional significance, what will be happen if the lesions affects the white matter of the cerebral hemisphere. So, it is a compact mass of vast number of nerve fibers and associated neuroglia. Types of white fibers. They are association fibers, commissural fibers, and projection fibers. There are three types: association fibers, commissural fibers, and projection fibers. Now, these are commissural fibers. These are projection fibers, internal capsule. Now, so these are commissural fibers. These are projection fibers. There are certain type of fibers from one gyrus to the another gyrus. This is the sulcus. So, like U-shape, Association fibers are intrahemispheric fibers. So, what is the function of fibers? These connect cerebral cortex. These fibers connect the cerebral cortex within the same lobe. They are intrahemispheric. Within the same lobe, or in between the lobes. There are 4 lobes in the cerebral hemisphere: frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, temporal lobe. There are 4 lobes in the cerebral hemisphere. So, these fibers connect the gyri present in the same between one part of one one part present in one lobe to another part present in the one lobe, the same lobe, that is intralobe. So they may connect between one lobe to the another lobe. For example, frontal lobe to occipital lobe, or occipital lobe to frontal lobe, or frontal lobe to parietal and parietal lobe to the occipital lobe, or etc. like that connection. So intra-hemispheric and outside the hemisphere. So in between the two hemispheres also. There are two hemispheres, right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemispheres. These are connected by means of interhemispheric fibers. For example, corpus callosum. Now, the types of white fibers are association fibers, commissural fibers, and projection fibers. Association fibers, commissural fibers, and projection fibers. So, the white matter of the cerebral hemisphere is nothing but a compact mass of vast number of nerve fibers and associated neuroglia. There are three types of white fibers. Number one, association fibers. Number two, commissural fibers. Number three, projection fibers. Now again, association fibers, intrahemispheric fibers. They are within the same hemisphere. They are short association fibers. They are long association fibers. They are short association fibers. They are long association fibers. Now again, they are divided into uncinate fasciculus, cingulum or limbic association bundle, or superior longitudinal bundle, Now, this is the short association fibers. So this is sulci, this is gyri, this is another gyri. In between these two, one fibers is there. They are short association fibers. Now, this is a long association fiber. This is the frontal pole. This is the occipital pole. This is the temporal pole. This is the occipital pole. So, this inferior longitudinal bundle connecting the temporal pole to the occipital pole is a long association fiber. So, this is a fronto-occipital bundle. This is the frontal pole. So, these fibers are going and connecting the occipital pole. So, this is a fronto-occipital bundle. This is a long association bundle. This is a cingulum. This is a cingulum or a limbic association bundle. This is connecting the cingulate gyrus. So, immediately above the corpus callosum, cingulate gyrus is there. So, this is connecting this frontal pole, connecting the going through the parietal pole and going through and entering the occipital pole and entering into the temporal pole. So, this is a shape of a girdle. So, cingulum is otherwise known as girdle. So, this is a limbic association fiber. So, this is a short association fiber, uncinate fasciculus, connecting the one gyrus to the another gyrus, side, which are present side by side. Now, this is one pole to, this is an occipital pole, this is a frontal pole. So, this bundle is connecting the frontal pole to the occipital pole. So, these fibers connecting the one pole to another pole or one gyri to another gyri. So, these are short association fibers, these are long association fibers. So, bundles of short and long association fibers within the cerebral hemisphere. These are present within the same cerebral hemisphere. There are two cerebral hemispheres, right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere. So, the right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere are connected by each other by means of a commissural fibers, that is corpus callosum. Now, short association fibers, long association fibers. Now, short association fibers, in the short association fibers, uncinate fasciculus and cingulum limbic association bundle, superior longitudinal bundle. These two are long association bundle. Uncinate fasciculus is a short association fiber. Once again, I am telling you, this is a short association bundle. This one and this one are long association bundle. This one is also long association bundle. This is uncinate fasciculus. This connecting the frontal pole with the temporal pole. This connecting the motor speech area with the frontal cortex. This is orbital cortex with the motor speech area present in the temporal pole. So uncinate fasciculus is connecting the frontal pole orbital cortex. This is the orbital surface. This is the orbital surface of the frontal lobe. So these are connecting the uncinate fasciculus is connecting the frontal lobe to the temporal pole motor speech area. So these association fibers connect, white fibers connect one part of cerebral cortex to the other parts of the cerebral cortex and also to the subcortical centers, thalamus, midbrain, pons, cerebellum, etc., spinal cord. So these fibers, white fibers, goes from cerebral cerebrum. So these white fibers are nothing but axons and dendrites are the neurons. Neurons are present in the gray matter. These are so a bulk of central nervous cerebrum, cerebral hemisphere is formed by the white matter. If anybody asks you question, there are two substances present in the cerebral hemisphere: gray matter outside, white matter inside. Which one is large? White matter is large because only neurons are present in gray matter. Whereas in white matter, neurons is there and neuroglia is also there. So neuroglia are supporting cells of neurons. They are present also in the gray matter. So the white matter is nothing but a compact bundle of nerve fibers associated with associated neuroglia. They are short association fibers. They are long association fibers. They can be broadly classified into association fibers, commissural fibers, and projection fibers. So association fibers, commissural fibers, and projection fibers. Association fibers means short association fibers, long association fibers. Short association fibers connect the one gyrus with the neighboring gyrus. Long association fibers connect the one pole with the frontal lobe with the parietal lobe or frontal lobe with the occipital lobe. So they are crossing the lobes. There are 4 lobes in the cerebral hemisphere: frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and temporal lobe. So association fibers, short association fibers, and long association fibers. Association fibers are grossly divided into 3 association fibers: uncinate fasciculus, cingulum, uncinate fasciculus, cingulum, superior longitudinal bundle. Uncinate fasciculus, cingulum, and superior longitudinal bundle. Now commissural fibers. Number 1, corpus callosum, anterior commissure, posterior commissure, hippocampal commissure, avengular commissure. Corpus callosum, anterior commissure, posterior commissure, hippocampal commissure, commissure of fornix, avengular commissure. So association fibers, commissural fibers, projection fibers. 3 types of white fibers are there in the white matter of the cerebrum. So already we discussed about the association fibers, short association fibers and long association fibers. Short association fibers between one gyri to the another gyri by crossing the sulcus. This is the sulcus. Long association fibers between one pole to another pole, or between one pole, another pole, and another pole. Like that, they are connected with each other. They are long association fibers. Uncinate fasciculus connect the orbital part of the frontal lobe with the motor speech area of the temporal lobe. This is the temporal lobe. This is the frontal lobe. This is the parietal lobe. This is the occipital lobe. This is the occipital. This is the occipital pole. This is the frontal pole. This is the parietal lobe. This is the temporal lobe. This is the temporal pole. So frontal pole, occipital pole, and temporal pole. So this bundle is present 4 centimeters behind the frontal pole. This bundle is present 6 centimeters behind the occipital pole. You see this bundle. This is present. If you measure this distance between this bundle and this one, it is 4 centimeters behind the frontal pole. If you measure this distance between this bundle and this bundle, it is 6 centimeters behind it, a little higher. So, little higher distance. Now, commissural fibers. Now, once again, I tell you, there are 3 types of fibers: association fibers, commissural fibers, and projection fibers. Association fibers, commissural fibers, projection fibers. Association fibers, short association fibers, long association fibers. or they can be grossly divided into three. They are unshelled fascicles, singular, superior longitudinal bundle. Now, commissural fibers: corpus callosum, anterior commissure, posterior commissure, hippocampal commissure or commissure of fornix, and habengular commissure. Now, corpus callosum is the largest commissural fiber. Is a compact mass of white fibers. Is a compact mass of white fibers. Corpus callosum connects between the right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere. Corpus callosum connects the right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere. You see the brain, there are two cerebral hemispheres. There is a sulcus, a fissure present between the right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere. Into that, the dura mater goes. Dura mater goes. So, corpus callosum binds the right and left cerebral hemispheres. Binds the right and left cerebral hemisphere because the stimulations or the learning process, it should be bilateral. It should be bilateral. So, the right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere, they have got functional continuity. To have the functional continuity, these two cerebral hemispheres has to be binded with each other. That is by means of corpus callosum. That is by means of corpus callosum. If you know the sectioning of the corpus callosum, the two cerebral hemispheres separate and two cerebral hemispheres work independently. That is not normal in a human being. That leads to split brain. You can assess it. So, the corpus callosum is a commissural fiber, is the largest mass of commissural fiber connecting the right cerebral hemisphere with the left cerebral hemisphere. The most important commissure, largest commissure in the brain, connecting two cerebral hemispheres, connects neocortex of two sides. It connects neocortex of two sides. There are three types of cortex: neocortex, paleocortex, and archicortex. Neocortex is the modern one. Paleocortex is the next one. Archicortex is the old one. That means paleocortex is intermediate one. So, the cerebral cortex can be divided into three types: neocortex, modern one; paleocortex, intermediate one; archicortex, oldest one. So, the corpus callosum connects the neocortex of two sides. It consists of 150 to 250 millions of fibers. Consists of 150 to 250 millions of fibers. So, both cerebral hemispheres are connected with each other, except the lower and anterior parts of the temporal lobes. So, corpus callosum connects the right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere. Both are connected, except the lower and anterior parts of the temporal lobes. They are connected by anterior commissure. Remaining two parts of the two cerebral hemispheres are connected by the corpus callosum. In each cerebral hemisphere, frontal lobe is there, parietal lobe is there, occipital lobe is there, and temporal lobe is there. So, the right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere both has to be connected by corpus callosum, except the lower and anterior parts of the temporal lobe, which are connected by the anterior commissure. Now, commissural fiber: corpus callosum, anterior commissure, corpus callosum, anterior commissure, posterior commissure, habengular commissure, and hippocampal commissure. So, the commissural fibers are 5 types. Corpus callosum is the most important commissure, largest commissure of the brain, connecting the two cerebral hemispheres. It connects neocortex at the two sides. Neocortex is the modern one, consists of 150 to 250 millions of fibers. Lower and anterior parts of the temporal lobe are connected by anterior commissure. That means that are not connected by the corpus callosum. That is only the exception. So, remaining all 4 parts of the brain, frontal, parietal, occipital, and temporal, except the lower and anterior parts of the temporal lobe, are connected by the corpus callosum. So, fibers from one cerebral hemisphere going to the another cerebral hemisphere through the corpus callosum. So, bilateral function of the cerebral hemisphere, both hemispheres should work in coordination. So, the white matter of the corpus fibers a bunch of fibers, corpus callosum, connects the right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere. That's why the function of the right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere are coordinated with each other and a single function appears. So the learning process, so the right cerebral hemisphere has got certain important learning process. Left cerebral hemisphere has got certain important learning process. So both has to be coordinated because there is a connection, corpus callosum is there. So bilateral responses goes from one hemisphere to the another hemisphere, and coordination and functioning of both cerebral hemispheres in a continuity manner occurs because of the corpus callosum. Because of the corpus callosum, except the lower and anterior parts of the temporal lobes, they are connected by anterior commissure. So we are all now learning about the white matter of the cerebrum. These are nothing but fibers of the neurons or dendrites of the neurons, nothing but fibers. Gray matter principally composed of neurons. Now, external features and relations of corpus callosum. Corpus callosum is the most important one. It contains 150 to 200 million of fibers. It connects both cerebral hemispheres, right and left cerebral hemisphere, except the lower and anterior parts of the temporal lobe, which are connected by the anterior commissure. External features of cerebral corpus callosum. This is the corpus callosum, a C-shaped one. This is the corpus callosum. This is the sagittal section of the brain. If you cut the both cerebral hemispheres, right and left separately, the corpus callosum, by cutting this case, corpus callosum sagittally. If you cut the corpus callosum sagittally, it appears like this. So it consists of 4 parts: rostrum, genu, trunk or central part, and splenium. The corpus callosum in sagittal section appears a C-shaped one, convexity upwards and concavity downwards. This is the concavity. So this convex concavity, inner side of the corpus callosum, this concavity is connected to the convex surface of the fornix by means of septum pellucidum. This is the septum pellucidum connecting the interior of the corpus callosum to the superior surface of the fornix. So corpus callosum is a C-shaped one. It appears as a C-shaped one in sagittal section of the cerebral hemisphere. It consists of thick genu anterior part and some more thick splenium on the posterior part. Rostrum extending downwards and inwards. Extending downwards and inwards. That is rostrum, and a trunk or a central part, otherwise called as body. So the corpus callosum appears C-shaped in appearance in sagittal section. It contains 4 parts: genu anteriorly, splenium posteriorly. This is genu anteriorly, splenium posteriorly, trunk or body, central part. Now this is the rostrum, extending downwards and inwards from the genu. So this is the rostrum. So the inferior surface of the corpus callosum, which is concave, is connected to the superior convex surface of the fornix by means of septum pellucidum. So this is entirely present in the lateral ventricle. The cavity of the right cerebral hemisphere and cavity of the left cerebral hemisphere. So cavity of the cerebrum is called as lateral ventricles, right one and left. So cavity of the cerebral hemisphere is lateral ventricle. So this is entirely present in the lateral ventricle. So this genu forms the anterior boundary of the anterior horn of the lateral ventricle. So this trunk forms the superior part of the roof of the lateral ventricle. So this forms the roof of the lateral ventricle. Splenium forms the boundary of the posterior horn of lateral ventricle. Now this entire thing is present in the lateral ventricle. So this genu forms the anterior boundary of the anterior horn of lateral ventricle. So this trunk inferior surface forms the roof of the lateral ventricle. The splenium forms the boundary of lateral horn of posterior horn of lateral ventricle. Here itself, you know, The lateral ventricle contains anterior horn, roof, and posterior horn and inferior horn. 3 horns are there. So this is associated with corpus callosum, is associated with the lateral ventricle. It is present within the lateral ventricle. So these boundaries are associated with relations of the corpus callosum is associated with the lateral ventricle. So by learning in this way, if you come to the lateral ventricle question, you can name the boundaries. Corpus callosum forms the anterior boundary. Body of the corpus callosum forms the roof of the lateral ventricle. So splenium forms the boundary of the posterior horn of the lateral ventricle. You can mention vice versa in theory examinations. That is more useful. This is coronal section of the corpus callosum. This is sagittal section of the corpus callosum. This is sagittal section of the corpus callosum. So in sagittal section, it appears as a C1. This is the coronal section of the corpus callosum. In coronal section of the corpus callosum, the roof is covered by a substance that is indusium brucium. This roof is covered by a substance that is called, this is indusium brucium. This is indusium brucium. This is indusium brucium. This is a longitudinal cerebral fissure passing between the, this is the right cerebral hemisphere, this is the left cerebral hemisphere. This is a longitudinal cerebral fissure passing between the two cerebral hemisphere. This is the anterior cerebral arteries. This is the anterior cerebral arteries. This is the corpus callosum. This is the lateral ventricle central part. So lateral central ventricle part, lateral central ventricle central part. Body of the cardiac nucleus comes on the upper and lateral part. Now the stria terminalis and thylamostriate veins comes just below the body of the cardiac nucleus in the lateral wall of the central part of the lateral ventricle. And thalamus forms the boundary of the inferior aspect of the lateral ventricle central part. So thalamus forms the ventricle. So choroid plexus also comes as a relation to the inferior part of the floor of the central part of the lateral ventricle. So the medial wall is formed by the septum pellucidum of the lateral ventricle central part. So the central part of the lateral ventricle, the medial relation is septum pellucidum. Superior relation is the corpus callosum. So roof is formed by the undersurface of the corpus callosum. If you see this diagram, you can also see the central part of the lateral ventricle and its relations. So this is coronal section of the corpus callosum showing relations with lateral ventricle and indusium brucium. A substance covering the superior surface of the corpus callosum is called indusium brucium. Now I am going to the sagittal section. So this corpus callosum superior surface is covered by a substance called indusium brucium, where I am pointing cursor. Where I am pointing cursor. Where I am pointing cursor. So the superior surface of the corpus callosum is covered by a substance that is called indusium brucium, a white matter. Now parts of corpus callosum: rostrum, genu, trunk or body, and splenium. Now this is you see. Rostrum, genu, trunk or central part, and splenium. Rostrum, genu, trunk or central part, and splenium. These are the 4 parts of the corpus callosum. Now horizontal section of the cerebrum, schematic, to show the course and components of fibers of corpus callosum. Now this is the corpus callosum, body of the corpus callosum. Now this is the body of the corpus callosum. This is a schematic diagram. Body of the corpus callosum. These are the fibers. These are the fibers arising from the anterior part of the corpus callosum. This is the body of the corpus callosum. This is the body of the corpus callosum. This is the body of the corpus callosum. That means this part of the corpus callosum, schematic diagram. This is the genu. So anterior part of the corpus callosum is genu. Downward and inward extension is rostrum. Posterior part, bulged part is sphenium. Now this is the anterior rostrum. This is the central part of the corpus callosum. Now this is the anterior part of the corpus callosum. This is the genu. So this is the rostrum. This is the central part of body. Now from the anterior part of the body of the corpus callosum, a few fibers arise. A few fibers arise. A few fibers arise and goes to both frontal lobes. And goes to both frontal lobes. They are called forceps minor. That means again, the frontal lobes are connected with each other by means of another white fibers. They are called forceps minor. They arise from anterior part of the body of the corpus callosum. Now, from the posterior part of the body of the corpus callosum, some white fibers arise and goes into the both occipital lobes. They are called forceps major. So, anterior part of the corpus callosum connecting the both frontal lobes by means of forceps minor, and posterior part of the body of the corpus callosum by sending fibers into the both occipital poles by means of, they are called forceps major. So the fibers arising from the corpus callosum going into the both occipital lobes is called forceps major. The fibers arising from the anterior part of the body of the corpus callosum going into the both frontal lobes is called forceps minor. Is called forceps minor. Now these are the relations of the corpus callosum. Now functions for corpus callosum. Corpus callosum is responsible for interhemispheric transfer of information, which is responsible for bilateral response and in learning process. Corpus callosum connects the both right and left cerebral hemisphere, except the lower and anterior parts of the temporal lobe, which is connected by the anterior commissure. They are responsible for interhemispheric transfer of information, which is responsible for bilateral response and in learning process. Clinical correlation, split brain. Split brain syndrome. Corpus callosum is congenitally absent or sectioned. Patient's response as though he has two brains. As though he has two brains. For example, the corpus callosum is cut in one individual or a congenitally absent. If you teach them a learning process with one hand, he cannot do the same function with the other hand. If you ask your patient to do function with one hand, you ask the patient to repeat the same with the other hand, left hand. If he is not able to do the same function with the other hand, there is failure of transfer of information from right cerebral hemisphere to the left cerebral hemisphere. That means corpus callosum may be congenitally absent or it may be cut. So this is one condition. Whereas in olden days, the corpus callosum is cut to prevent severe epileptic conditions. In olden days, now it is not doing practice. In olden days, the corpus callosum is surgically cut to reduce the incidence of severe epileptic seizures. Now, anterior commissure is a small round bundle of white fibers which cross the midline in the upper part of lateral terminalis. So, anterior commissure. There are 5 commissural fibers. Number 1, corpus callosum. Number 2, anterior commissure. Number 3, posterior commissure. Number 4, habenular commissure. Number 5, hippocampal commissure. Anterior commissure is a small round bundle of white fibers which cross the midline in the upper part of lateral terminalis. Anterior commissure consists of 2 components. Now, paleocortical component, neocortical component. Now, anterior commissure consists of neocortical component connecting the both temporal lobe and paleocortical component, that is intermediate part. Anterior commission. The large neocortical component is the largest one, and a small anterior component, paleocortical component, is the smallest one. So, neocortical component of the anterior commission is the largest one. So, a large posterior part of the anterior commission is neocortical component. A small anterior part of the anterior commission is the periocortical component. Anterior commission is a small round bundle of white fibers which cross the midline in the upper part of lateral terminalis. Anterior commission consists of two parts: a large posterior neocortical component and a small anterior periocortical component. Anterior commission has the shape of Kupitz bow or classical bicycle handlebar. You see this diagram, it is like a handlebar of a cycle. It is like a handlebar of a cycle. So, if you see the anterior commission, the shape of the anterior commission, it is like a handlebar, cycle handlebar. So, you see the shape of the anterior commission. Posterior commission is a slender bundle when compared with the anterior commission. It is also nothing but a fibers, white fibers. Now, the white fibers are the central nervous system, cerebral hemisphere. They are association fibers, commissional fibers, and projection fibers. Association fibers, short association fibers, long association fibers. Now, they are grossly divided into three types. Uncinate fasciculus, cingulum, superior longitudinal bundle. Uncinate fasciculus, cingulum, and superior longitudinal bundle. Now, we are dealing with the commissional fibers. Corpus callosum, already we know the shape of the corpus callosum, the divisions of the corpus callosum, relations of the corpus callosum. If the corpus callosum is cut, what will be happening? What is the clinical importance of corpus callosum? What is the significance of corpus callosum in patient? So, all we have dealt with. Now, anterior commission, we have completed it. Now, posterior commission. So, when compared with the anterior commission, posterior commission is a slender bundle of white fiber. It interconnects the superior colliculi, pretectal, and interstitial nuclei of the two sides. Posterior commission interconnects the superior colliculi with the pretectal and interstitial nuclei of two sides. Superior colliculi, pretectal, and interstitial nuclei of two sides. So, posterior commission is a slender bundle of white fiber. It connects the superior colliculi, pretectal, and interstitial nuclei of two sides. So, that means anterior commission connects the So, your doubt, you have to see the textbook and give me an answer by video call. Habengular commission is a slender bundle of white fiber. It interconnects the superior colliculi, pretectal, and interstitial nuclei of two sides. It also connects the superior colliculi, pretectal, and interstitial nuclei of two sides. Hippocampal commission of fornix. It interconnects the crura of two sides. Hippocampal commission. Habengular commission is a slender bundle of white fiber. It interconnects the superior colliculi, pretectal, and interstitial nuclei. So, there are two nuclei, habengular nuclei, on either side. These two are connected by means of habengular commission. Hippocampal commission of fornix. It interconnects the crura of two sides. This chapter is a little difficult chapter. You have to understand, you have to go through the lecture repeatedly and you have to see the PowerPoint presentation repeatedly. So, this is the hippocampus. This is the hippocampus. Both are connected each other by means of hippocampal commission. This is the hippocampal commission where I have put a cursor. This is the hippocampal commission. So, this is the hippocampus. This is the hippocampus. Now, this is the fimbria. This is the dentate gyrus. These two are connected by means of hippocampal commission. So, this is the crura of the fornix. So, this is a projection shaped valve. Now this completes the commissural fibers. Corpus callosum, main one, anterior commissure, posterior commissure, appendular commissure, hippocampal commissure. So they are commissural fibers. Now we are going to projection fibers. They connect the cerebral cortex to the subcortical center. What are subcortical centers? Thalamus, midbrain, pons, cerebellum. These are all present subcortex. So below the cortex. Now projection fibers connect the cerebral cortex to the subcortical fibers. Now they are first fibers, 3 types of fibers. Now they are present within the cerebral cortex. Association fibers and commissural fibers, they are present within the cerebral cortex. Projection fibers connect the cerebral cortex to the subcortical centers. They are corticofugal fibers, corticopetal fibers. Now corticofugal and corticopetal. So corticofugal means centripetal and centrifugal. But you know very well about centripetal and centrifugal. Here the cortex is taken as a center. So here the cortex is taken as a center. So projection fibers of neocortex constitute the corona radiata and internal capsule, archicortex and pallium. So projection fibers of neocortex constitute the corona radiata and internal capsule. Modern cortex. Whereas archicortex and paleocortex constitute the fimbria and fornix. Allocortex constitute the fimbria and fornix. Projection fibers of the neocortex constitute the corona radiata and internal capsule. So those of allocortex constitute the fimbria and fornix. Now internal capsule. Internal capsule is nothing but a part of projection fibers. It is nothing but a mass of projection fibers. All are fibers. What is fiber? It is a white fiber. It is nothing but axons and dendrites of the neurons. Axons and dendrites of the neurons. They are white in color. That's why they white matter. Internal capsule is a compact bundle of projection fibers between the thalamus and caudate nucleus. Thalamus and caudate nucleus medially and lentiform nucleus laterally. Ascending corticopetal towards the center, they are sensory. Descending corticofugal, they are motor. Internal capsule is a compact bundle of projection fibers between the thalamus and caudate nucleus, medially and the lentiform nucleus laterally. I will show you the diagram. This is the internal capsule. This is the internal capsule. This is the lentiform nucleus. This is the caudate nucleus. This is the thalamus. So between the caudate nucleus, head of the caudate nucleus and thalamus medially and lentiform nucleus laterally, this is the internal capsule. This is the anterior limb. This is the genu. This is the posterior limb. Below the lentiform nucleus is the retrolentiform part. This is the retrolentiform part. This is the retrolentiform part. This is the retrolentiform part. And if there is anything present below the lentiform nucleus, that is called sublentiform part. So retro and sublenti. So anterior limb of the internal capsule, posterior limb of the internal capsule. Bend is called genu. And again, beyond the lentiform nucleus is retrolentiform part. So, internal capsule can be divided into 4 parts. Is a compact bundle of projection fibers between the thalamus and caudate nucleus medially and lentiform nucleus laterally. Ascending corticopetal and sensor, descending corticofugal and motor. Clinical correlation. Small lesion in internal capsule produce widespread paralytic effects and sensory loss in opposite half of the body. Internal capsule is a compact bundle of nerve fibers. So if a lesion in internal capsule, a widespread paralytic effects and sensory loss in opposite half of the body, because the fibers means motor fibers and sensory fibers. So fibers means motor fibers and sensory fibers. Both are. So a small lesion in internal capsule produces a widespread paralytic effects and sensory loss in opposite of the body. Shape and boundaries of the internal capsule. In a horizontal section of the cerebral hemisphere, internal capsule appears as a V-shaped compact bundle of white fibers with its concavity directed laterally. With its concavity directed laterally. Idigo. This is the internal capsule. This is concavity directed laterally. Head of the caudate nucleus medially and thalamus medially, and lentiform nucleus laterally. This is retrolentiform part. This is lentiform nucleus. So this one is called as retrolentiform part. This is posterior limb. This is anterior limb. This is genu. It is nothing but a compact bundle of white fibers, both motor and sensory. It is nothing but a compact bundle of white fibers, both motor and sensory. Because it is a compact bundle of white fibers, so a lesion in the internal capsule produces wide paralytic effects and sensory loss. Paralysis is produced by motor loss and sensory loss is occurred due to damage of ascending fibers. Centripetal. Centrifugal means away. This is the internal capsule, a compact bundle of white fibers consisting of motor and sensory present head of the caudate nucleus. Medially, thalamus. Medially, concavity is laterally adjusted by lentiform nucleus. Divided into anterior limb, bend is called genu, posterior limb. Below the lentiform nucleus is the retrolentiform part. Is the retrolentiform part. This is the internal capsule. We have to draw the diagram. And sublentiform part. If it is below the lentiform part, whatever internal capsule part is below the lentiform part, lentiform nucleus is sublentiform part. Now constituent fibers of internal capsule. Corticopontine fibers form the largest single group of projection fibers. What fibers are they? Frontopontine fibers, corticopontine fibers, corticopontocerebellar pathway, most recent and best because they are coming from the cortex. They are going to the pons. From their pons into the cerebellum. Corticopontocerebellar pathway. Pyramidal fiber, corticonuclear fibers, corticospinal fibers, and extrapyramidal fibers. So 5 types of fibers are present in the internal capsule. You must know each in detail because I already told you. The time is not sufficient for me to explain each and everything. So, what are the constituent fibers of the internal capsule? Corticopontine fibers, frontopontine fiber, corticopontocerebellar pathway, pyramidal fibers, and extrapyramidal fibers. These are the constituent fibers of the internal capsule. Sensory fibers are mostly thalamocortical fibers, constitute the thalamic radiation. So, the thalamus is the master gateway of sensory thing. Thalamus is the master gateway of sensory thing. From there only, all radiations go to the cerebrum, frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe, and occipital lobe. So, there are 4 lobes. From the thalamic radiation goes to the 4 lobes. They are divided into anterior thalamic radiation, superior thalamic radiation, inferior thalamic radiation, and posterior thalamic radiation. Anterior thalamic radiation goes to the frontal lobe. Posterior thalamic radiation goes to the occipital lobe that is present posteriorly. Superior thalamic radiation goes to the parietal lobe. Inferior thalamic radiation goes to the temporal lobe. Sensory fibers are mostly thalamocortical fibers, constitute the thalamic radiation. Is divided into following subgroup: anterior thalamic radiation, posterior thalamic radiation, superior thalamic radiation, inferior thalamic radiation. Thalamus is nothing but a oval mass, like a egg. Is a mass. This is the superior thalamic radiation. This is the posterior thalamic radiation. This is anterior thalamic radiation, inferior thalamic radiation. Now, this is the thalamus is a mass. So, all the radiations are also present in the internal capsule, motor fibers. So, anterior thalamic radiation is present in this one, going into the frontal lobe. Superior thalamic radiation going into the parietal lobe is present here because this radiation is green in color. So, the sections are dotted in green in color. So, posterior thalamic radiation. So, inferior thalamic radiation, they are sublentiform part and going into the thalamus. So, this is the retrolentiform part of the internal capsule. This is the anterior limb, genu and posterior limb. This is the retrolentiform part. So inferior thalamic radiation goes through the sublentiform nuclei part of the internal capsule and goes into the temporal lobe. Now these are the connections of internal capsule with the medial genicular body, lateral genicular body, optic radiation to the visual stria of the occipital pole. Now this is the primary auditory area present in the temporal lobe. So you have to go through this diagram where this is useful for you in thalamic connections and also to the internal capsule, fibers and tracts passing through the internal capsule. Fibers and tracts passing through the internal capsule. You have to know this diagram. Now constituent motor and sensory fibers in different parts of internal capsule. Anterior limb, frontopontine fibers. Sensory fibers, anterior thalamic radiation. Genu, bend, frontopontine corticonuclear fibers for head and neck. Superior thalamic radiation. Posterior limb, frontopontine fiber, corticospinal terminal fibers for upper limb, trunk and lower limb, corticorubral fiber, superior thalamic radiation. So retrolentiform part, paretopontine and corticopontine fiber, posterior thalamic radiation. So sublentiform part, paretopontine, temporopontine, inferior thalamic radiation. So these are the motor fibers present in the internal capsule. These are the sensory fibers present in the internal capsule. So constituent motor and sensory fibers in different parts of the internal capsule. Once again, I am telling you the definition of internal capsule. Internal capsule is nothing but a compact bundle of white fibers. Consists of both motor and sensory. Motor goes to the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and temporal lobe. Frontopontine fibers, they are coming from the pontine going into the frontal lobe. So sensory fibers going from the anterior thalamic radiation, they are all sensory because thalamus is the gateway of sensory relay. So all sensory pathways end in the thalamus. From the thalamus only fibers goes to the cerebral cortex. Except one. Already I told you while I am telling you the thalamus. You tell me. Arterial supply of the internal capsule is more important due to high incidence of vascular lesions. Medial and lateral striate branches of the middle cerebral artery, striate branches of anterior cerebellar artery. Now, a branch from lateral striate artery forms the Charcot artery, is the most common cause for cerebral hemorrhage. Central branch of the anterior choroidal artery, some direct branches from the internal carotid artery, central branch of the posterior communicating artery, posterior lateral central branch of the posterior cerebral artery. These are all blood supply of the internal capsule. You have to go through the arterial supply of the internal capsule. Medial and lateral striate branches, striate branches of the anterior cerebellar artery, central branch of the anterior choroidal artery, some direct branches from the internal carotid artery, central branch of the posterior communicating artery, posterolateral central branch of the posterior cerebral artery. Now these are the blood supply, arterial supply of the internal capsule. Anterior limb, posterior limb, genu, sublentiform part, and retrolentiform part. This is the blood supply of the internal capsule. You have to go well through the textbook. This is the diagram taken from the textbook only. Now clinical correlation. Damage to internal capsule by hemorrhage or infarction leads to loss of sensation and spastic paralysis of opposite half of the body. Contralateral hemiplegia. Charcot's artery of cerebral hemorrhage is a branch from lateral striate artery. Involvement of recurrent artery of heavy vein, thus is from anterocerebral artery. Lesions of the posterior one-third of the posterior limb will also cause lesions on the body. So this is the clinical correlation of internal capsule. Internal capsule consists of compact bundle of motor and sensory fibers. So cerebral hemorrhage or loss of blood supply causing infarction of the internal capsule leads to spastic paralysis and loss of sensation on opposite half of the body. That is in a single line. Clinical correlation. But you must know all the clinical correlation. Lateral ventricles. There are two lateral ventricles. One in each cerebral hemisphere. They contain C-shaped cavity. Already when I am telling with you corpus callosum, teaching you corpus callosum, I told you the lateral ventricle. Lateral ventricle wraps itself around the thalamus, lentiform nucleus and caudate nucleus. Septum pellucidum separates the two ventricles. So septum pellucidum is the one that is separating the two ventricles. Septum pellucidum is connecting the inferior surface of the corpus callosum, concave inferior surface of the corpus callosum with the convex superior surface of the fornix. Where is septum pellucidum? I am telling you. I am showing in the diagram. This is the septum pellucidum. This is separating the one lateral ventricle with the another lateral ventricle. So right lateral ventricle and left side. So left lateral ventricle is on the other side. This is the septum pellucidum. How it is separating the one cerebral lateral ventricle with the another lateral ventricle. That means septum pellucidum is a wall between the one lateral ventricle, that is right lateral ventricle and left lateral ventricle. Now this is the shape of lateral ventricle. This is the third ventricle, is the cavity of the diencephalon. Lateral ventricle is the cavity of the cerebral hemisphere. Third ventricle is the cavity of the diencephalon. Fourth ventricle is present between the behind the brainstem. Pons and upper part of the medulla oblongata. Lateral ventricle, fourth ventricle. So lateral ventricles are two, 1 and 2. First and second. You can name them according to your will. Left can be given one, or right can be given one. So third ventricle. Parts of lateral ventricle. Each lateral ventricle is divided into 4 parts. Central part are body, anterior horn, posterior horn, inferior horn. Posterior horn is the most recent one in evolution. So the same thing is continuing in the evolution. Recent one, intermediate one, and oldest one. Neocortex is the oldest one. Paleocortex is the intermediate one. Archicortex is the oldest one. So here also the lateral ventricle is divided into central part of body, anterior horn, posterior horn, and inferior horn. Posterior horn is the most recent one in evolution. This is the central part. This is the anterior horn. This is the posterior horn. This is the inferior horn. So this is the diagram. This is the anterior horn of the lateral ventricle. This is the central part of the lateral ventricle. This is the posterior horn of the lateral ventricle. This is the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle. So this posterior horn is most recent in evolution. This is the third ventricle. This is the fourth ventricle. These two are connected by cerebral aqueduct. So the first lateral ventricle and second lateral ventricle are connected by interventricular foramina. Are connected by each other. So the lateral ventricles are connected to the third ventricle by means of interventricular foramina. Choroid plexus and choroid fissure. Along the C-shaped line, the central part and inferior horn of lateral ventricle is made up of only of ependyma. Along the C-shaped line, the central part and inferior horn of the lateral ventricle is made up of only ependyma. This is the C-shaped one. Central part and posterior horn. So this is lined by ependyma. Ependyma is nothing but lining cells of the ventricle. Ependyma is the lining cells of ventricle. Ependyma is nothing but lining cells of the ventricle. So here the central part and the posterior horn. So this is lined by ependyma. The tuft of blood vessels invaginated into the central part and inferior horn form the choroid plexus. So choroid plexus is nothing but tuft of blood vessels invaginated in the central part and inferior horn of choroid plexus. The line of invagination to the choroid plexus into the lateral ventricle is called choroid fissure. Clinical correlation: computerized axial tomography, ventriculography, air encephalography. So all the ventricles can be viewed by means of CT scan and ventriculography and electro and air encephalography. Air encephalography means you inject air into the ventricles and you do an X-ray examination. So computerized X-ray tomography, ventriculography, air encephalography, all these you can visualize the ventricles, lateral ventricles or third ventricle. And thank you very much for your patient hearing. Once again, I am telling you, you please attend to the classes, online classes. The university is taking it as an exam, as an evidence for sending you to the examination. If your online attendance is low, your percentage of attendance will be low. The same will be sent to the university because the university is recording this online attendance. It is going to the university. Thank you very much for your patient learning, hearing. Once again, you go through the subject. Thank you very much.
అంటే అవును అవును